I'll call the Criminal Justice Public Safety Committee to order. First order of business today is to approve minutes of prior meetings. Motion by Supervisor Wild, second by Supervisor Hogan. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. First up on the docket is Public Defender.
Okay.
Thank you, Marcy.
Good morning, everyone. That's right.
Good morning.
Okay, the first thing I would like to talk about is Distribution 7. We received a new contract in, which is Distribution 7. It looks like this. Let me make sure you can see what that looks like. It deals with January 1st, 2017 to December 31st, 2019. We're just getting the funding now, and I would respectfully request that the chairman be allowed to sign it. We have attached the expense sheet in the front so you know what it's for, and then we have also attached below it the work plan so you know what that's for also.
Okay, and these are, okay, moved by Supervisor Garrity, second by Supervisor Sokol. And this is the first year of, or no, Distribution 7.
Right, this is Distribution 7. Even though it went from January 1st of 2017 to December 31st of this year, we get the funds starting now.
Oh, okay.
All good. And we'll spend it all, I promise.
Okay, any discussion? Yes.
We're only authorizing the signature at this point, or are we amending the budget for this as well?
No, this one is just a signature.
Okay, and just for the committee's information, this year in the budget, each of the assistant public defenders received a $5,000 increase in their salaries. Initially, the county was going to pay the $5,000 for those attorneys that are involved with family court, and the state was going to cover the criminal court. Marcy and Aaron and their team have figured out a way to get the family court covered under Distribution 7, so that takes the responsibility off the county and now and hopefully going forward for future salary increases for the entire team.
You stole my good news.
Sorry.
That's okay. And you're allowed to. It's okay.
That's an atta-girl, right?
So,
Yes.
Is that part of the retention?
Part of it's part of the retention, yes.
Okay.
I have Erin here with me. That's why I look over, because she's my numbers person, and I have it all in little crib sheet notes for me. So my first request is, could we pass that resolution on to have the contract signed?
Okay. So it's moved and seconded already. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion carries.
Thank you so much. Okay, so the next thing I'd like to talk about is a Harel herring distribution that we got. This is the one where I'm making an amendment to the county budget. It looks like this. It's called at the top, it says statewide expansion /C 70052 budget needs. This is year one contract for Harel herring. It is a total of 5 years. This will allow me in the future to come before you and request another attorney, a part-time investigator, and a data officer. At this point, I'm also, further down when we talk in a few minutes, I'm requesting a social worker and a legal clerk. The only funds I'm asking the county to expend now is for the office furniture and the computer. The reason being, we should be getting the funds in within the next month or two, but it takes 6 to 8 weeks to order furniture. So if I don't have furniture for when the people come in, I have no place to put them and no computer to have them work at. So I understand this is a little unusual to ask for money in advance. I'm only asking for $14,000 for the furniture, which is through state contracts, and the computer equipment and the printers, again, that is $3,600 and $3,600. So those figures I'm requesting, and then there's a budget amendment at the back behind it. Request to amend the county budget, and the funding would be coming from this grant. We have already received the contract from the state. We have signed it and sent it back to the state to sign, so it should be coming. They've already approved the contract and the grant, and so we're just on the contract piece. So that's the piece I'm asking for in this. I thought it was important because we've been talking about these contracts and these grants as to where the money is going. So that's why we gave you this sheet, so you know what we'll be talking about in the future. In the next section that I'm going to talk about would be talking about the request to create a position and fill a position for the social worker and the secretary, social worker and the legal clerk. I've got to use the right terminology. But if we can create the positions, we're not going to fill it or spend it until we actually get the money in for that. But if I wait to create the positions, then I'm further down the line and I could really use it. The example would be, yesterday I have a client who's in the jail who needs to go into a treatment facility, and I am making the phone calls to facilitate all this happening. I need that case social worker to be able to do that for me, because my time is better spent dealing with the legal issues than those kinds of issues.
Okay, so before us will be motion to amend county budget for $14,000 for furniture, $7,200 for computer equipment. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, who would like to bring that forward?
I'll bring it forward.
Okay, Supervisor McGowan, second by Supervisor Scarity. Okay, any further discussion on this one? Supervisor Moore.
Just a point,
Administrator Moore.
an administrative point. I just want to be crystal clear that typically what we do is we amend the budget when we have an executed contract, and we order equipment when we have an executed contract. What we're asking to do in this case, because of the timeliness of getting the furniture and the office equipment in time for her staff to be able to use it, so they have a place to sit and a place to work, we're asking for the board to make the budget amendment and authorize those purchases on the strength of the work plan being approved and the state. It typically takes the state a couple of months to turn around a contract. So it's as good as in stone that we're going to get this money. We just don't have the executed contract in hand. We have the approved work plan. We're waiting for it to go through its cycles at the state.
And that's where it's at now, at the state, ready to be...
Correct. I just want to get that out there so that the board understands what they're approving.
Yeah,
This money's coming out of her budget right now? It's not coming out of the general fund?
No, what we'll do is a budget amendment adding the state revenues and the expenses, so it does not come out of the general fund.
Anticipated revenue.
Yes.
And I wouldn't have made the request for it unless we had gotten the contract back from the state first for us to sign, and the chairman has already signed it and sent it out, and they have approved it. And that's why I wanted to show you the work plan, the budget, so that you know everything that it involves.
Yeah,
Crystal clear.
the remainder of this work plan, the positions, the attorney registration, notary fees, anything that's not urgent, we'll amend the budget when we have the executed contract in hand.
Supervisor Hogan?
We've all seen your offices. Do you have room for two more?
Yes, we figured out where we're putting them. We're adjusting furniture, adjusting things. And remember, the county gave me 2 other offices. They gave us the one that used to be Steve Bale's office, and before that it was the female court officer's office, and they gave us Joy LaFountain's old office. So I have more space now, which I really appreciate, and could not do this without that. So thank you.
Yep, Supervisor Driscoll.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I may be jumping the gun, but the social worker position, is that a part-time or per diem?
It will
or-
be a full-time position.
It will be a full-time
Yes, sir.
position? Okay, but there'll be funds coming from another
It will be-
source in order to...
Right, for the grants, yeah.
Great, okay,
Right.
thanks.
And it's also coming out of the Hurrell hearing. So
Okay.
we're combining things.
Yeah.
Because that's how we have to do it with all
Sure,
these
yeah,
grants.
yeah,
Because
yeah.
we have 9 grants plus the Hurrell herring 5-year grant piece. So we're combining things to make the money work.
Quite familiar with that.
It's infinitely complex, made more complex by the state being slow on turning these things around.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Well familiar with that process.
We'll call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion to amend budget passes.
Great, thank you so much. The next thing is notice of intent to fill a vacant position and to create a vacant position called the case manager. The case manager, I've been working with HR and personnel nonstop on this, and we have a draft of a position, and so they have tentatively approved it. It's tentatively grade 4, but it will be called case manager public defender. And they would, the purpose of the person is to assist the clients with economic, emotional, social, environmental difficulties through case management and developing service plans.
Okay?
I'll move
One-
3, 4, and 5.
Okay. so
There's
you only
motion
have-
move 3, 4, and 5.
good.
Would you like to speak to the legal clerk? And
Legal clerk is, the
Public.
DA's office has 4 secretaries. I have a confidential secretary, and Erin, who does grants, so I need more staff to be able to keep up with the requirements. And because it's funded through the Hurrell hearing, the secretary can only handle criminal files. She can't touch the family court files. My confidential secretary will still handle all of those, because again, there's restrictions on what someone can do. It would be a a grade 5.
Okay, so it's second, and to be correct, it's 2, 3, 4, and 5, right? For creating an intent to fill, both of those two positions. Any further discussion on those?
No, it's going to go back.
Yeah, it was Supervisor Schultz seconded. Yep. Okay, call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None.
Thank you very much.
Motion carried. Motion
The
carried.
last one is number 6, to update his existing notice to fill. So on a prior grant, I put in a notice to fill and notice to create a position, the 8th APD. We have put it in our budget, but we didn't have the funds. The funds are in now, and because the form that we had is from 2017, I am required to get an updated form. So
Okay.
the only purpose is to get an updated form. I have, there was an attorney we interviewed, he got sworn in yesterday, and he is accepting the position, so I need this form done so that I can hire him. He would be starting on June 17th.
Okay.
form.
Yeah. We better move on. Supervisor Simpson on first and Supervisor McGowan on second there. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Oh, sorry.
No, not on this.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Just on the other two forms for the two positions we just created, I haven't signed them yet. Before I sign them, we won't fill those until we have the executed contract, right?
Correct. We are
Okay.
not filling them until we have an executed contract. The only form that I'm filling, actual body, is the attorney, the 8th position. And just so you know, you'll probably see me next month, because hopefully funding will come in and we have some more things to talk about. And I appreciate everyone's voting positive, and I'm really excited about these changes for the office. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Marcy, and thank you, your staff, for keeping track of all of these grant-funded positions and the work that's going on there.
Thank you very much.
All right, we'll move from Public Defender. Next up is Office of Emergency Services. Director Lafleur, you have the floor.
Thank you, Supervisor Leggett. Mine is very simple. It's a travel request. I just found out about this a week ago, and I did not have time to get it through the normal scenario to have it all done before I need to go. This is a trip to Phoenix. I was requested by FirstNet if I would participate and represent New York State as part of their roadmap or design of the FirstNet system for the Adirondacks. So I've been a negative person towards FirstNet relative to the Adirondacks because we have no coverage, and I am looking forward to passing that along to the entire group.
Okay, so that's moved by Supervisor Simpson and seconded by Supervisor Sokol. And
I just had some discussion, but you go ahead, you're the chair.
I just wanted, so we're all on board, the FirstNet is an overlay, is that correct on?
FirstNet is a federally funded program created by President Obama. Started out with a $20 billion scenario. They went out to bid. AT&T is the contractor that will be building the system. They currently have the system running in some areas utilizing the existing AT&T infrastructure. The system is designed, it's supposed to be a public safety broadband network. That means that only public safety agencies can utilize this network. It will be a secure network, and it includes what they call priority and preemption. That means priority means if we need to use the system, we have first shot. Preemption means that if the system is full and I want to use the system, I throw somebody else off. So that's priority and preemption. That's what FirstNet is all about, to make sure that the responders have the ability for data and voice when they need it. Now, that being said, they went through the bidding process over 2 years. I worked with the Governor's Committee on deciding whether New York wanted to do it. We went all through that, and as soon as AT&T got it, then Verizon built their own. So there are two systems running right now, one on Verizon and one on AT&T. AT&T is officially called FirstNet. Verizon just duplicated it, but are doing it themselves.
Is it then subscription to all of our emergency networks?
It's all in who you have the service with. In other words, if you want to sign up for AT&T service, that will be your cellular service and your data.
Mhm.
Then, if you want to utilize the FirstNet system, you have to be an AT&T customer. If you want to use the Verizon system, then you use the Verizon system. Right now, in our area, I will tell you that I've told all the fire departments, emergency squads, and whatever, it's up to you if, number one, if you want to join the system. Number two, this system now allows that the individuals, even volunteers and their families, can become part of this system, which is substantially reduced in price. If you know what you're paying for your cell phone now, if you could get unlimited data for $39 a month, would you sign up for it?
Uh-huh.
Probably.
Yeah.
So, and AT&T and Verizon both using the same pricing scheme. It's on state contract. The problem is not everybody has AT&T, not everybody has Verizon. So what I tell people is whatever is best for you. If you live in an area where your house is only covered by AT&T, then get the AT&T system. If you live in an area that's only covered by Verizon, where I am and down here in Queensbury, Verizon is much better than AT&T, then I'm using the Verizon system.
What was your reservation about the FirstNet in the Adirondacks?
When this first happened, you may have seen this article in the NISAC magazine. When they first brought this to the state of New York, and this was 4 years ago, they put a presentation onto the board, which I'm a member down in Albany, and they put up a map of New York State. And the map was all green, which indicated where coverage was going to be for FirstNet, with the exception of this big white spot right where the Adirondacks is. And I said to the gentleman, "What is that?" He said, "That's just trees." Okay. Well, that didn't go over well with those of us that live up here, and that has been my problem all along. They keep talking about coverage supposed to be 99% in the country, but when you ask them how many towers are they putting in the Adirondacks, we get a blank stare. They're adding, in theory, 60 towers in New York State. If you know how big an area a cell tower covers, which is about 10 miles, you're not going to cover anything with that. It'll work good in some areas, but anyhow, the bottom line is I've been a vocal advocate for getting that kind of coverage up here.
Good. Supervisor Simpson?
Well, I was going to ask, I didn't know if you knew how many towers they had applications for in front of the APA, because I know there is a number of AT&T.
I know they do. There's no question. They're doing a lot. They're pouring money into the system.
So
But
what
even if they get the approval for a tower, by the time they go through everything, it's not something where they're going to each individual firehouse and squad building and trying to sell people their service. And that's what has basically offended me, that they're telling these guys, this is for public safety, it's FirstNet, you have to buy AT&T. And that is not the case. And so
Go
that's
ahead.
why I get across to people that get what's best for you if you want. It can be a savings for you and your family, or maybe not. But for us, when we switched to Verizon priority and preemption, the bill for each of the phones that my office has went down $3 a month. So for me, was this a problem? We have more capability and it's costing us less. So now you can do, a lot of people, this particular phone that I carry has both. This has Verizon and AT&T in it, so depending on where I am, I can use either one. The AT&T I'm not paying for because they foolishly let me have a contract just to try it. So until they turn it off, I have both.
That's on record, but okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's what a lot of people are doing, those in public safety, let's say on the state level, the people that I work with that are, can be anywhere in the state for disasters and events, they're putting both in.
Yeah, makes sense. Supervisor Wild or Chairman?
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
What I was going to say is that we're hopeful that this does build out, because one of the things that we're pushing for is co-location on these towers through these applications, which would be very beneficial to everybody if the height of the tower is conducive to locating Verizon and AT&T, and this should be thought out, because one of the issues why we don't have coverage in that big white spot is because of the cost and the lack of population compared to where a private company is going to invest their money.
Right.
We need to help this with co-location and tower approvals.
No question.
So that we do have service here. Otherwise,
They did, they also reached out, and they actually did a survey across all the counties in the state, actually across the country, to see what public safety towers are out there that they could co-locate on, so they wouldn't have to go through a huge permitting process and all of that. At this point in time, Warren County, the towers that we physically own, were not conducive to helping them. In some places, further up in the Adirondacks, where the public safety people have been able to build a tower or have a grandfathered in existing tower, what Supervisor Simpson is saying, if you can get co-location money, average $1,200 to $1,400 a month, that's not bad.
Yeah.
So, unfortunately, the towers that we physically own, that's not an advantage.
They weren't at the time. Okay, Supervisor Wild.
Thank you. Just a question about no cost to the county. Brian, who's paying for this, and is there a conflict of interest?
Who's paying for what, sir?
You said on this conference that you're going to go to, there's no cost to the county.
Correct.
So who's paying for it?
FirstNet.
So they are. So basically AT&T is paying for you to go out there.
FirstNet is paying for me to go out there. That's a federal authority. If you do you consider that a problem?
I have no idea. It's whenever I was asked to participate in the conference, myself or my company had to pay for it. There's always that sense of, who's going and why they want you to go there, and are you...
This is not
I'm
a
just
sales
asking,
Yeah.
it's something to
I
learn about
understand.
ethics.
This
right?
is not a sales conference. There's not vendors there, that kind of stuff. I appreciate what you're saying.
Yeah.
I don't see that it's an issue.
He talks a lot. What it is, FirstNet is the nationwide system put in by the federal government. FirstNet contracted out the service, AT&T got it, but he's going to go to talk to FirstNet. And what is it doing? The nationwide system. So he's not going on behalf of AT&T or Verizon. He's going on behalf of the nationwide system, FirstNet. He's going to offer up what we've been complaining about now for the last 5 years. And we've seen multiple presentations in our APA local government, AATV, we've had FirstNet in, and they make it sound like everything's hunky-dory until you hit the Adirondack Park. And it's never going to be hunky-dory in the Adirondack Park. You throw out the APA and do what's right for the citizens of the Adirondacks. Quote me on that.
I was just going to say, there's a quote.
I'm telling you right now, you always run into these problems. We've talked to the FirstNet people, and they've come in and, build it 120 feet in the air. Don't build it 40 feet like the APA wants you to. Build it 120. What the hell are they going to do to you? But anyways, that's what he's going on FirstNet. He's not going on behalf of AT&T or Verizon, correct?
Okay.
That's very true.
Yeah.
Brian-
I'll be his spokesman from now on.
Okay.
So Brian's going out there with the chance of being a hero to get broadband and cell coverage across the Adirondacks.
Well, yeah, but it's a real problem.
Supervisor Hogan?
I do the best I can.
Frank, do you have cell service?
Yes.
There's an article in here, Brian's quoted.
Point of
Look it up.
information.
Yeah.
But,
Have 3 supervisors who do not have cell service at their homes. These are not...
Andrea, can you speak to the mic
Oh,
so
sorry.
we can all see?
These are not, people living at the end of a 10-mile-long dirt road. These are 3 supervisors who don't have cell service.
I understand that completely. I'm working heavily with the Adirondack Broadband Coalition, and actually working on a project there which I think is going to help a number of people in the Adirondacks, but that's beside the point. I agree with you. The same fire departments, the reason they can't do what they need to do, why they can't participate in the systems that we have, we know what the problem is. It's a matter of getting it fixed. So
But
we are making headway. There's more fiber optics being put in. There's a lot of stuff going on. Yes.
I would suggest that you make this known to the powers to be out there. Where are you going? Lovely Phoenix?
Should
Phoenix,
be
Arizona.
more than 112
This
there.
is a severe problem, and I think people take us for granted up here. And they continue to take it for granted. And I was hoping that the Democratic administration in Albany would do something about it. They got a little bit better, but we're still not there yet. But we are being short-sheeted up here in the Adirondack Park. And we complain and complain. Our towers, Frank, you're getting a new tower over there, right?
You'd have to speak to the APA about that.
Yeah,
see,
subject to the APA.
You know, and it takes a year and a half, it's ridiculous, and, you know, hopefully, and talk to the FCC, maybe they should trump them, but this is a severe problem. I am responding, we spend money and I am responding. Fire departments can't use it, they don't have cell service, it's
So,
ridiculous.
Brian, the message is, go out there and bring it back home.
I will stand up and
You're
say,
back to it.
per Kevin Garrity.
Yes, quote me on
I will be glad to do that. They probably know who you are. actually.
That's right.
it.
Well, let's take a vote on this so that you can go. All those in favor of sending Brian to Phoenix?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion carries. Any other business there?
I don't have anything. Do you have anything for me?
Yes, I do. Sitting in at the county facilities meeting, a pole barn for your emergency vehicles came up as a point of discussion. Are we ready to move ahead? Do you have any plans already on the boards? Anything you can get in touch with DPW superintendent?
I currently have updated drawings and plans from a vendor that would supply the building. They are stamped, they're New York State stamped, they meet all the requirements. I have that, and we have a plot plan should we find it's on a generic piece of property at this point, not knowing where that's going to be.
And a preferred plot of property would be in what district and area?
I would prefer to be on this site or near this area, because that's where most of my people are. The whole idea is to be able to go to that place and get the piece of equipment and take it where it needs to go. If I put all my equipment in the DPW building in Warrensburg, I only have one guy that lives up there. So that means we would have to drive from here to there and then bring the equipment back down here. That doesn't work real well for me.
Okay, Supervisor Garrity?
According to Mr. McGowan, you would need to leave breadcrumbs down because people don't know where Warrensburg is.
Really?
I happen to state that it needs to be close to this building, and
What did I miss?
Supervisor Garrity took offense that I thought his place was in the Boone Hicksville.
No, that's Grand Lake.
That's Grand Lake. Are you on this committee?
Can't get there from there.
Yes, and I asked,
Okay.
and yes, I am on this committee.
I have that information, I'm glad to share it. It is nowhere near the dollar amount that a lot of people have been throwing out. But again, we come back to what we went into 4 years ago. We hired Clark Patterson, I paid them to look at some different sites, and again, that went nowhere. So, we have information on different locations in this area, and, or any other, I'm willing to look, but, it doesn't do me any good to put it somewhere where it doesn't work. I mean, the reason the equipment is back here now is because I'm working on it. In 2 weeks, I have a 24-hour exercise to run the bus, and we have to, I have things I have to do on it. I have to work on it. And that's why the stuff is here, if anybody's wondering. I did clear that with the administrator first.
Well, good. Well, let's start that discussion up, and it'll probably come back through facilities, because the D&G building down there is going through lease and sale and what, so we need to find a home for your equipment.
I
Okay.
understand.
Brian will call you this afternoon.
That's fine. I appreciate that. Anything we can do to assist, I'm glad to do.
Okay, good. Privilege to the floor, anybody? Okay,
Sheriff.
okay, thank you. Up next, Sheriff, Under Sheriff Flamery, you have the floor.
Morning.
Morning.
On our action agenda, item A is we're requesting a resolution for out-of-state travel, specifically for Project Lifesaver training for Patrol Officer Courtney House. The training is down in Orlando, Florida. This will be funded out of our asset forfeiture money.
Okay, motion to bring it to the floor, Supervisor Simpson, seconded by Supervisor McGowan. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item B is request a resolution for a new contract with Midstate Communications to perform tower inspections on Prospect Mountain.
I'll move it.
Moved by Supervisor Garrity, seconded by Supervisor Hogan. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item C is request a resolution to amend the budget for 2018 purchase orders. And what happened, there was a clerical error with monies not being carried forth from 2018 into 2019 by the clerk that handles these matters. When it was brought to our attention, I was in contact with Deputy Treasurer Rob Lynch and the County Administrator, and per our conversations, this is how we were going to resolve it.
Make a motion, we move the transfers.
Okay, moved by Supervisor Garrity, second by Supervisor McGowan. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion carries.
Item D, request permission to fill a vacancy for Patrol Officer number 47 due to a promotion.
I'll move
E through H. Supervisor Garrity, yes.
D, E, F, G, H.
Okay. D through H. Motion on the floor to move D through H, second by Supervisor Sokol. Any discussion on these? All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item I is request a resolution for a new contract with Social Sentinel. Social Sentinel is a company out of Burlington, Vermont. The sheriff went over there along with one of our officers and met with them, and essentially they provide a service where they scan 1 billion points of data out on social media. They have agreements with the social media platforms that are out there. Basically, they're looking for harm words, violence words, and it's not for you, it's not for me. What it does is it looks at the students within our school districts. So if somebody's threatening that they're going to bring a bomb to school, it picks all this stuff out. It uses artificial intelligence, and if they come across something and they, just for example, there was some sort of a connection to the Warrensburg School District, they would in turn notify us and we would look into it, along with the school. This is something that we're going to pay for out of the asset forfeiture money. The rates for this company is based on the student population. It does not include the City of Glens Falls because we found the City of Glens Falls was already going to contract with them for the same type of product. So our rate is based on all the students outside the City of Glens Falls,
But
with
within
the exception of the college.
All county schools then,
Correct.
other than?
Correct.
Okay.
We did meet with the superintendents about a week or so ago.
Mhm.
I explained what the product was to them. We had a representative of the company come to our office, explain it to them as well. And they're all on board with what we want to do. They see the value in it.
Okay, motion to bring it to the floor. Supervisor Simpson, second by Supervisor Wild. Discussion? Supervisor Driscoll?
Thank you. St. Mary's St. Alphonsus is included in with that also, or no?
I don't know.
Okay.
We were told the City of Glens Falls School District was taking care of the City of Glens Falls.
Okay. But there's 2 school districts within the city plus St. Alphonsus. So, okay, thanks.
Okay. There's Supervisor Conover.
This relates to exclusively to schools, or is this?
I can't
social media?
what it...
Sheriff, you have the floor.
I spent some time putting this thing together. I went up and saw this company, very impressed with this company.
They're based in Burlington?
Burlington, right, but they're nationwide. They've got some success stories nationwide. It's similar to, you recall last month, when the Columbine thing came up again, folks, you remember? They had a tip, this girl flew from Miami, Florida, up to Columbine, purchased a weapon out there. This was forwarded by the FBI, who had some sort of same type of intelligence that this is. It wasn't Social Sentinel, but it was something similar to this. That's what got me thinking to get this on board. So it goes to social sites, all public sites. And it will read artificial intelligence. If it's in, say, in the town of Warrensburg, it might relate to Warrensburg School District. If it's in the town of Bolton, it might relate to the Bolton School District. I don't understand how it works, but it's artificial intelligence. Do you want to add anything to that, John?
Again, it scans 1 billion points of data. It's obviously way more than humans can do as far as monitoring everything that's out there. So they have some success stories where it's actually prevented suicides because it's picked up on that language. The intelligence is apparently smart enough to figure out I killed that exam versus I'm going to go kill somebody. However it works, it works.
Supervisor Wild?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My first reaction is this sounds like a pretty good thing, but then the next reaction is this Big Brother and where does it end? And how deep are we going in terms of what some would consider an invasion of privacy?
Well, I think, Mike, the fact that all the school superintendents who have to deal with their constituents in the school are 100% on board with this. You can call it Big Brother if you want, but it's not a person. It's not Big Brother looking over your shoulder. It's artificial intelligence looking at public sites that are already there. So you can classify it any way you want. They're in favor of, I'm really in favor
Sure,
of it.
all right, and because it's public, I guess I have less of an issue with it, but then the next step is, where does it go? Are we going to say that everyone that has a mobile phone and a social site that visits Warren County is now being observed by this social sentinel?
Can't answer that. You'd have to get the owner here. I don't know that.
Yep. Undersheriff?
You're probably not aware of this, but the school districts are already using similar technology that monitors their own internal email systems that the students use.
For the life of me, Mike, I can't see where anybody in the public would be opposed to it.
I'm not opposed to it, but please don't get me wrong, that wasn't my intent. It was just the big picture in terms of where it's going. And where's it going to go next, and where's it going to go after that?
We take one step at a time. I think this is the way to go
I-
now, and that's the way I would like to go. That's the way the schools would like to go. You know, if the public comes in and says they don't want to do it, that's something you broach at another point in time. But at this point in time, with what's happening in the world today, I'm trying to do everything that I can to protect our schools and our students, and I think this is just another tool.
Supervisor Hogan?
Just a quick question. My teenager informs me that new social sites pop up weekly. So did you have any conversation with them about, are they always
It's just
tracking what's new?
It's just certain social sites that they, correct me if I'm wrong, Sean, have contracts with, they have agreements with. So if new ones pop up, it might not hit those.
So it's not comprehensive?
No, it's not comprehensive.
So this is going to be a new contract. We would expect to continue this year after year. Would it still come from asset forfeiture each year?
Yes.
And will there be any monitoring to see if we're really getting a value for this service?
I'm told their experience is, depending on the numbers that you have, I think they just contracted with the Syracuse school district, but they have a large school district in Ohio, and I can't remember which district it is, but they have 20 to 30,000 kids. We're only putting in I think 6,000 kids. So by those numbers, their experience is that we should only have 1 to 5 pings or hits per week or month, depending on what's happening out there. So it doesn't look like it's going to be really busy to start with, but if we get any of those hits, one of my officers is going to look at it, we'll contact the school or the school resource officer that's already there, and we'll figure out what it is. But it shouldn't be too busy to start with.
So that was going to be my other question. There's a protocol to follow once you do get one of those pings. I'm sure that all this is governed by...
Yes, there is protocol, but it's a learning, it's brand new, so there's going to be some steps that we learn that we may not want to do next time around, but the schools are on board with it.
Okay, Supervisor Wild and Supervisor Sokol.
Just to follow up, is this going to replace something that schools already have? You mentioned that they're doing something with their email system. Is it going to replace some of this?
It's going to enhance it.
And then the second piece is, the schools also are subsidizing us for the resource officers. Is this something that's going to be charged back to the schools also? Or we're just going to do it as a service?
It's not my plan, okay, but I'm only here for another 7 months. I can't speak for the new sheriff. But for this year, my plan would be never to charge the schools because they're already paying for it. This was an enhancement that I felt that we, as a local police agency and a county, can do. And I thought the best place to get the money was from seized asset because it's legal to do it. And I think it's a good bang for your buck. That would be my plan. So for the next 7 months, that's the plan. Next year, you'll have to ask the new sheriff.
Supervisor Sokol?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think this is great, but you mentioned year after year. This exhibit right here, it says it's only for a 3-year term. Is it going to automatically?
No, we did a one-year contract with them. We've locked in for $10,500 for 1 year. 1 year.
So this is showing term for product of 1920, and then 20 to 21, and 21 to 22.
That should be the option to renew it.
So it is an option?
Yeah, but not-
Okay, so it's not a 3-year term?
If there's no further discussion, we'll call the question. All right, we have a motion and a second. Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion carries.
Item J, request a resolution for a new contract with Great Escape Six Flags, provide law enforcement services to the park, similar to what we've done in years past.
Okay, Supervisor Garrity on the first, Supervisor Sokol on the second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Items for discussion?
Item A, under topics for discussion, we currently have 3 correctional officer vacancies and 1 corrections sergeant vacancy.
Sergeant, okay. And you work off of a list on these?
We do. We have the civil service list, and they've been doing the physical agility testing and then bringing candidates in, have applications filled out, they interview them, and then move on from there.
Good. Only down to 3 on the...
Getting closer.
Yeah, good. Anything else?
I'd like
Sheriff?
to speak to the board if I might. Just something that I want brought for your attention and the public as well. As you know, we get sued a lot in the sheriff's office, whether it be our police officers or our corrections officers. So I want to give you a good report. We got a lawsuit from an inmate into the correctional facility. We felt it was pretty frivolous. Of course, a lot of them are frivolous, but they still go ahead into the court system. And I bring this up to let you know the good work that our officers are doing, police and corrections officers. This case, I won't get into it, but it involved someone who was arrested, who actually was a police officer when he was arrested. And I guess he's got a background of suing counties and entities. Well, he ended up being sent here to Warren County, and he figured we were easy prey, easy target. So he filed this frivolous lawsuit that stems back 5 or 6 years. It went through the system. We, of course, the county attorney has been on this right from the day one. Got Greg Johnson's firm to represent us. He's done a fantastic job. Right before it was going to trial last month, or this month actually, they wanted to settle. So that's what these lawyers do for a ploy. They want to sue, and then hopefully they'll settle right before trial, and they can get $20,000, $30,000 for their client. Well, initially, Mary, you know what they initially asked for in this suit? Was it $500,000?
I don't know what they initially...
It was a large amount, though.
Yep.
It was a large amount. And so right before trial, the day before trial, they said, oh, we'll settle for $25,000. And our people did nothing wrong, folks. We did everything by the book, because they do it by the book in our jail. And it offended me. So I went and talked to Mary, and I talked to Ryan. I didn't want to... I get offended if we have to pay more money, if our taxpayers, including me, has to pay more money than we should. So you weigh up, you give them the $25,000, or you take the chance and go to trial, and if you lose the trial, you're going to have to pay $200,000 and his lawyer's fees. So you really got to think about it. So I give Mary and Ryan credit here. Mary says, Sheriff, what do you want to do? I says, I don't want to settle. He said, we did nothing wrong. If we have to go to trial, I think we can prove it. Ryan jumped in, and I said, Ryan, and he knows the administrative part of it better than I do. He said, "I agree with you, Sheriff." He said, let's go for the trial, and I felt good about that. So we went to trial. Two of my people testified. One of the corrections officers testified, and my corrections captain, Almeida, was there for the week. He was sitting second seat with Greg Johnson, because Greg wanted him there for help. And then I testified. So the three of us testified. The jury came back in less than an hour, gave him zip, nada, nothing. And they were impressed with our agency, with our guys that testified. So it made me feel good, and I thank Ryan and Mary for giving me some good advice here. But again, sometimes you go with your gut and it's not right. I wanted to go with my gut, and they backed me up. So I want you folks to know that. He didn't get $25,000. We have to pay Greg Johnson, but he earned it, and he did a great job. So that's good news. And if we'd have paid the $25,000 or he'd have won, Don, that's something you would have found. You always find those things, right? It would have been in the paper because he has to report on it. But this is something good he can report on. We're not paying him nothing. So that's the good thing. The other thing I wanted to bring briefly on my law enforcement side, of course you all knew about the homicide last week. Let me tell you folks, the police officers in this county are as good as anybody. And that, don't just take my word for it. It's coming from professionals in law enforcement. We got here at 6 o'clock last Friday morning. We were here for 16 hours. But when I got here, I called in all the help we can get. State police are great. They always come to help us. We had 40 investigators here. We had computer crimes here. We had computer banks set up. We were checking audio and video. We were checking text messages. And I said, we're going to solve this today, before the Memorial Day weekend. 5 hours, folks. We had it figured out in 5 hours. And it was because of the good work of our people and the state police and working together. And I want you folks to know that. You're well represented. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheriff. Thanks to all in the sheriff office. Privilege of the floor. Anybody would like to speak? Under Sheriff, you have anything more?
Oh, that's all I have for today.
Okay. Thank you, gentlemen. Motion to adjourn. Moved by Supervisor Wild, second by Supervisor Hogan. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Adjourned.
Tim, you didn't get a magazine?